guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for deciding to click on today's video. We are going to be reviewing the MakeupForever Ultra HD Self Setting Concealer. This is a concealer that is new to MakeupForever. That is supposed to be one that you don't have to use powder with. So we are going to be testing that out in today's video. I'm going to be putting powder on one side of my under eye and then none on the other. We will be doing a wear test at 3 hours and at 6 hours with this concealer. So if you are ready to hear my review on it, go ahead and keep on watching. So what this is supposed to be is a concealer that you do not have to set at all with any powders whatsoever. You are supposed to be able to just apply this, blend it out, and be done for the day. So I have been testing this guy out now. I've had it for a little bit over a week. I've worn it probably about 6 times or so. I've tried it all different ways. So I've tried applying a light amount of this. I've tried applying a heavy amount of this. I've set it. I've not set it. I've worn it all day. I've not worn it all day. So I've kind of been trying to get a feel for this concealer. So the price on this is $28. There are 22 shades to this new concealer. I got mine in the shade Pearl. It is shade number 11, and this is definitely a way too light for me, but this is what the applicator looks like. I actually really enjoy the applicator. It does have a little bit of bend in it. It definitely reminds me of like a lipstick type applicator. Like, it's nothing too large, nothing too small. I hate it when applicators are too small. It's nice for picking up the product. I definitely feel like you get a lot of product on your brush, and I like that because sometimes with concealer, I feel like when you keep going in, like, you don't get a lot of product on your brush. So this is definitely one that does pick up a lot of product. You do get a decent amount of product in here as well. So when it comes to the shades, I would say I bought mine off Sephora. It was a little bit hard to find my shade match. Looking at the photos, like on Sephora's website, this one looked a lot more warm than it is, but when I actually apply it on my under eyes, it's pretty white, like it's pretty pale. And it definitely, I thought this had more of like a warm undertone, but it definitely does not. So here is the swatch of the color that I got. You can tell it's just very, very, very light. So it's definitely more of a brightening concealer on me. The consistency of this is a little bit thick, but when you do apply this, they suggest that you only apply a light amount. And so I have tried it both ways. I've tried applying it how I would regularly apply my concealer, like I said, with like a large amount kind of going in like the triangle. And when I do that, it's definitely very heavy on the under eyes, and you definitely have to set it if you're going to use it that way. I will say that it is a more medium coverage. I would say more light to medium. They describe it as medium, like buildable coverage, but for me, like personally with my concealer, I prefer a little bit more coverage. So with this, I feel like I don't get as much coverage as I would say with like my Too Faced concealer or like my Tarte Shape Tape. I feel like it's a little bit more of a sheer coverage, so kind of just like an everyday look, which I feel like is what they're kind of going for with this, with the non-setting kind of a thing. It's kind of meant for someone who likes, you know, a little bit less glam or just wants like a quick, nice, like dewy look on your skin. I typically apply a lot of powder to my under eyes. That's what I prefer. You guys have seen me do it lots of times here on my channel. I pretty much bake pretty hard. I think that makes my under eyes look the smoothest, look the best. And with this, I have been trying without setting it. And you guys will see in this video, like throughout the check-in, kind of what my set eye looks like and then what my eye looks like without any powder whatsoever. So for me, the only problem with not applying powder with this concealer is I feel like my mascara will transfer down. You guys can even tell probably right now I have a few like flakes down on my eye. I feel like anytime my concealer is not set and it's just like wet on my under eye still, for whatever reason, my mascara likes to tug onto that, and it doesn't matter what mascara I use. If I don't apply like a generous amount of powder, I am gonna get like the fallout kind of right down below and kind of have to fix it throughout the day. So I am going to try and not fix it. I don't really have anywhere to go today, so I am going to kind of show you guys how it looks throughout the day without like touching it up or anything like that. I'm going to do a check-in at 3 hours and then another check-in at 6 hours. I will also show you guys how this is applied with a brush and then also with a beauty blender, so you guys can see the difference in application in that. So now that I told you guys a bit about it, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial portion and the check-in points. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys the application of setting it and not setting it, kind of like both options, so you guys can see how it does with creasing. So the way that they say to apply this concealer is to use a very light amount. They say to only use 2 to 3 dots. So say I put on 3 dots right here. It's also suggested that you use a brush to blend this out. Now, typically I would go in with my beauty blender, but for the sake of this video, I have been testing it out different ways, and I do feel like if you apply it with a brush and then blend it out, you get a little bit more coverage than when I use my sponge. I'll show you guys on the other side. I'm gonna go ahead on the other side and use my sponge, as well as I'm going to set the other side so you guys can kind of see the difference of a side set and also a side blended out with a sponge. And then you can kind of see how they say to apply it. So I'm just kind of buffing this in, and we applied, like I said, a very light amount. Now this color is a little bit too light for me. I would prefer it to be just a tad bit darker. Just so it wasn't so kind of like white. It definitely brightens a bit. So there you have it with the concealer on, and then this side doesn't have any. So you guys can see on this side, I do have these folds in my eye. So when I talk about creasing like throughout this video, you guys will see kind of what I mean. So these folds right here, I always get creasing no matter what. I'm going to show you on this side with the powder kind of what you guys will see. And then when we do the check-ins throughout the day, you'll kind of know what I mean when I talk about the flakiness. But I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to apply 3 dots, and then this side I'm going to actually blend out with my sponge so you guys can see kind of the difference that the sponge gives. I just feel like it shears it out a little bit more when you use a sponge, and also I just prefer the way it actually blends out with a brush, which is something that I don't normally do with my concealers. So this is just with 3 dots on the one side with the sponge. So you can see that the coverage on this side is definitely better. Like you can still kind of see some of my purpleness on this side. So I am going to actually just add 1 more dot on this side just so we can cover up a little bit of that purpleness there, and still use my sponge. And then I'm actually going to set this side with my powder. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply my Rimmel London. This is my Stay Matte powder. This is the one that I use all the time. And I'm actually gonna bake this side because that's what I would do with my concealer normally. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pack on the powder. And then I'm going to bake this side of my face. And when you see throughout the check-ins throughout the day, you will see kind of the differences between the two of setting it and not setting it, since this is a concealer that they say you don't have to set it with. So this is kind of how much I would normally apply. All right, so I went ahead and dusted off the powder. This is a close-up. So this here is our side without the powder, and then this is our side with the powder. I'm going to finish the rest of my makeup. We're gonna do a check-in at 3 hours, and then I'm also gonna do a check-in at 6 hours, so you guys can see kind of how this would wear throughout the day without setting it, and what it does like with my mascara and the rest of my face completely done. All right, so we are back after the 3 hours, and this is kind of what I was talking about. So you can see how my mascara is all transferring down here onto my lower lash line, and on this side we don't really have that. So that's what I kind of meant by like the flakiness that I get when I don't apply powder to my under eyes. Now, as far as the creasing goes, I'm gonna come up a little bit closer. I do feel like this side definitely like creases more in the folds. I mean, I always get creasing, like I mentioned. On this side you can still tell that it's creasing even with the powder, but I do feel like when without the powder it is creasing quite a bit on me. Maybe if you don't deal with creasing as much as I do personally, this might work out better for you, but for me, I do feel like it creases quite a bit more. I am gonna go ahead and set my timer for another 3 hours. I will come back after the 6 hour mark and share with you guys what my skin is looking like then. Okay, so we are officially back. It has now been 6 hours since we first applied the concealer, and I wanna give you guys a little bit of an update. We changed our lip color a little because obviously my other one had worn off in that 6 hour range. But let me go ahead and show you guys what we are looking like. So you can clearly tell this side here is the one that we didn't set. This one over here is the one we set. So when I was telling you guys that this formula is more of a medium, like light to medium coverage, you can see that definitely like throughout the day. My dark spots, like especially even on the side that I set, are peeking through. Like I don't think that this is necessarily like a long wear concealer, because with a lot of my concealers after 6 hours, they're not going to be starting to like show my dark spots like that. Normally they stay pretty hidden. So I do want to point that out. And then also obviously we've talked about the mascara fallout, but aside from that, like getting a close up, you can just see like the cracks. Let me wipe away a little bit of Like it still feels wet. But if you just like see like the little kind of cracks like down in this area here, and then on this side we don't really have them that low. Obviously we still have this area here, but they're just like a lot lower right here. I notice a lot of creasing. And don't mind the shininess of my face as well. I haven't put powder on or anything at all throughout the day. Normally if I'm like out and about, I will go ahead and powder because my skin does get pretty oily throughout the day. But that is going to be like my final check-in for this concealer. So definitely getting into like my final thoughts on it, who I think it's for. So I think that this is a concealer for someone who doesn't like to wear a lot of makeup. If you are someone who just kind of wants a quick like put it on, don't want to set it, maybe you don't want to wear mascara, maybe this isn't an issue for you. Maybe your mascara doesn't run down like mine does, but I find that anytime I don't set my under eyes, that does happen. So for me, the option of not setting them sounded great and everything, but it didn't work out with this concealer, which I figured it wouldn't. And then also, like I said, I feel like it creased a lot more on the side where I didn't set it, so I don't really get the whole non-setting, no creasing kind of a thing, because I do still feel like it creased on me. Also, I don't feel like the coverage on this is the best, so I don't know if I'll continue to use it. I might obviously continue to try it out a little bit more, but I think my feelings are pretty set on the fact that it's not a new favorite for me. I might end up returning it. I haven't decided yet, but yeah, that is going to do it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful in some way. Leave your comments down below what you think of this concealer if you've tried it out yet. I would love to know if you've had a better experience with it. So do not forget to like this video and also subscribe to my channel before you guys go, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.